Hi, everyone. This is Bob Perkins with AAISP's Inside Sales Studio, coming to you with another interview around selling. And I'm so pleased to have Rob Peterson with us today. We're in for a special treat. Rob is the White Lodging Professor of Sales and the Director of Northern Illinois University Sales Program. Rob, it's so good to have you today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, especially talking about sales.
All right, and so today we're going to talk about sales programs in academics, in colleges and universities, and this is a topic that we haven't really brought to our viewers yet. And I'll start it off by mentioning some of our top challenges that corporate America is facing based on research done by the AAISP. We know over the past several years, leaders have really talked about the struggle with hiring enough candidates. Recently, we found that 70% of companies are adding headcount. Therefore, finding and recruiting talent is tough. Along with that, both leaders and frontline sales reps identified training and development as number one and number two. It's number one challenge this year with leaders, and the reps listed as their second biggest challenge, only behind getting quality leads, which we can expect. So Rob, today I'd like to get your thoughts on this whole phenomenon of the job growth and companies looking more downstream, closer to seniors in college, closer to hiring college graduates, and what the academic world is thinking about, and maybe a little bit about what you're doing to help prepare tomorrow's salespeople.
Oh, absolutely. The street needs a lot of salespeople every year, and companies have found just going to college career fairs wasn't really doing it for them. So in the last 10 to 20 years, let's say 20 years would have been the infancy. Companies have been partnering with some sales-oriented programs, some sales schools, to harvest, to grab the talent early on. And so we were a small group to start, mostly from the Midwest. Northern Illinois was the second oldest sales program in the country, and then you have a lot of other MAC. Toledo and Ball State and Illinois State and Western Michigan, Bradley, DePaul, Ohio U. We started to kind of galvanize together. We met at obviously academic conferences, and it had the underpinnings of what eventually became the University Sales Center Alliance, which is a group now of 40 universities across the country that have made sales education their number one task. I'm the director of a sales program, and there are 40 others like me across the country looking because the marketplace needed to hire kids. Yeah. We found great partners in them, and then these kids found great careers. The great thing is I have people sitting on my advisory board that have been out over 20-something years now, and are VPs themselves. So our connection with the marketplace and the ability to get kids jobs is we're on track.
So Rob, a couple of quick questions here for the viewers to kind of better understand what's happening. I don't think a lot of people understand there's universities and colleges out there that actually have 4-year bachelor degrees in sales. Is that correct?
I get emails every week, and people say, I've never known about this, and we've been in business since 1989. And I'm like, yeah, ready to go. Let me tell you about what we're doing. Yes, so most programs would have a sales major, generally in the marketing area, a sales major or certificate. So the kids will do a general undergraduate, GE, the general education requirements, to move into the School of Business, or maybe they won't. I've got kids from corporate communications and psychology and political science who say, hey, this is a good thing. Let's do this. But most of our folks are business students. They'll take, intro sales class, advanced sales, sales management, CRM, negotiation, different types of classes. And then they'll have opportunities to mix. Like at Northern, we'll have a golf outing, we'll have a bowling outing, we'll have a meet the mentor night, we'll have a sales-only career fair. So they get to see them socially as well as come and guest speak in class or play. There's a lot of role playing going on across this country, and and all the other universities too bring corporate partners in to play the role of the buyers. They get to see, I mean, how often do you get to see in an interview the student, the kid actually perform the behaviors that you want to have them do out, either on the phone, out on the street, or whatnot. It doesn't happen in an accounting interview.
No.
I mean, you're not giving a kid a ledger and telling, hey, balance this. So that's probably one of the great things about the sales approach and doing all these role plays. You get to see what you're working with.
And how many, ballpark, how many higher education, colleges, universities have programs like what you're talking about?
Well, there are 40 members of the University Sales Center Alliance, and then there's probably another 60 or so that are kind of kicking around, doing some nice things, but not in an organized, I shouldn't say organized, but not in a university cited or supported way. It's just, some professor trying to make a difference and teach a few sales classes. If you get 1 or 2 or 3 sales classes under your belt in college, you're absolutely going to have a much better career, hit the ground running, ramp up faster, turnover is less, and that is certainly what the sales programs offer companies today.
Look, this is fantastic. This is just wonderful. So we kind of laugh when we talk about nobody graduating high school is going to say, I want to go into sales, or some will. But do you see where kids leaving high school, entering college, where they say, I think I want to go into business, right? Or I think I want to go into marketing, but they don't really, they're steering a little bit away from sales, maybe because of a perception, right? So there's that piece.
Oh, that's
right?
still here.
That's still there. Well, you may know some of these statistics. How many kids graduate with a history degree or, some other degree, and they actually go into sales? We see that.
It's about 50% of all non-business students.
Wow.
Go into sales, because when you graduate, you're not going to be the curator of a museum. If you were, a history major, you're not going to be a lot of things, but you're going to help customers reach their goals by either sales, customer service, sales operations. So if we can, and I tell my students who are in the sales program, say, can you imagine taking a sales job without some of these classes under your belt? And they're all like, there's no way. And that's what leads to turnover. So if we can get these kids a little bit introduced to sales processes, sales theory, sales reality, sales role plays, they're going to be have a much better career, and much more fulfilling, and know how to ask the right questions. I mean, the simplest thing is, you and I know, and probably all the viewers do, is, hey, you got to ask some questions. Do some research beforehand, ask your questions. Trying to get these kids to stop. The first role plays are beautiful. We just did 203 role plays last week.
Wow.
I helped. I was a role player. I was a buyer, and 2.5 minutes into a 15-minute pitch and a conversation, they were already pitching me on the solution.
Yeah.
And this was only a discovery meeting. There's also a solutions meeting 15 minutes next month. But they were, when they get nervous, they forget about all the questions, and that's not what's going to help the customers out on the street.
Well, look, we've talked over the last few years, and you're doing some amazing things at NIU. You've brought in some material, some curriculum from Miller Hyman. You even used AAISP's Certified Inside Sales Professional
Absolutely.
Material. You're really giving these kids some straight up great training on selling, and then you're producing the role plays. So tell us about when they graduate, how ready do you think they are versus someone that just goes into generic marketing or maybe a history major or some other major?
Right. Well, our placement rate at Northern, and it's pretty similar to other universities who are doing sales as well, is close to 100% at graduation.
Wow.
There's a couple kids here and there that might want to go to law school, but over 95% by graduation time, and by 1 to 2 months afterward, the pipeline has finished for them, and they're somewhere in sales. So I think it's one of the draws to students. They find out, it's like, wow, I can get a job. So if they can, understand you are there to solve customer problems, and if you have a complicated customer problem, you're going to get paid a lot of money.
Yeah, Speaking of graduates, our own Ashley Becker, who is our Director of Member Services, she graduated from St. Kate's University in Minneapolis. We hired her as an intern during her senior year. Can you talk a little bit about some of your students, or maybe on behalf of the other universities in the consortium? Are they doing the intern thing?
Absolutely. Some require it. Some curriculums require you must have an internship.
Yep.
Others that junior, senior summer is immensely important. There's a lot of great, I can run down a laundry list, but if you can show that you answered phones, that you made calls, that will allow you to talk volumes. And next year when you're in your interview for your career, you can talk proof. I answered these many calls. I talked about this. We finished 4th in the region or something like that, as opposed to, hey, I was head lifeguard after 7 years. In my senior year, I got to be, and I had just personally 2 athletes who are on our soccer team. They said, they thought, you know what, this is not going to work. I need to do something this summer before senior year. And they did. They went out and got a great internship. That company wound up hiring both of them.
Fantastic.
So it's a great training. It's a great training opportunity. And yes, the great thing about the USCA members, the University Sales Center Alliance, is that we're spread out mostly across the country, a lot in the Midwest, but the geography is important because a lot of kids aren't ready to move.
Yeah.
I moved immediately. I went from the Midwest to Washington, D.C. for my first sales job, and I never looked back. But there's a lot of kids and then where we are in Chicago, they can swallow up most of those kids in sales jobs. So for your viewers, there's places all across the country, Georgia and Texas and California and New Jersey, and all through the Midwest. So there's a way to partner and find students locally. But I will tell you this, is I get calls every week says, hey, I'm looking to hire one of your best kids, Rob. I can speak in your classes. And it doesn't really work that way. We have so many offerings, that we have a corporate advisory board. We have partners. Most of the sales programs are self-funded. The universities across this country don't have funds most of them don't have funds to give. So corporate partners recognize, you know what, if I can hire this kid for when I partner with X university, that is money well spent because the ramp-up time is less, the turnover time. We're done with these kids. This is not theory. They're reading Strength Finders, Getting Yes, Art of War, How to Win Friends and Influence People, all these, at least at Northern, all these applied books. When they're done, they're going to be in sales. It's a matter of fit between the company and them.
That's great. I know there's probably a lot of viewers watching this that are hiring managers. And I do want to mention the association, right? We as an association, as a representative of this wonderful community of not just sales reps and practitioners, but technology providers and a whole list of companies that do a lot of hiring. We as an association and community are helping to support the movement of training people in college to be ready for sales. We offer a scholarship program. I'll actually be attending 3M out of Minneapolis is putting on a big event down at Waco, Texas. I forget is it Baylor University?
Yes.
Baylor University is hosting it. I'll be down there talking to actual interns and professors around how great opportunity they have to get into inside sales. So we're right behind it. But what maybe can you share with some of the leaders that are watching this around recruiting and hiring or getting in touch with the local university? Any tips you can share with them?
Certainly. Recruiting students is no different than finding prospects and making them customers. The more familiar they are with you, the better off they're able to make a warm and comfortable decision. Remember, these are 22-year-old kids who've never made a career decision like this. So familiarity will breed comfort, and so that model will work. You can't just drive by and think these kids are going to be, oh my gosh, I got to go to work for you. It's easier. You get your poster child, and then they come back and help recruit and have a good experience. It's an offer to help, offer to do some role plays. And also, if you have coin, that's one thing. If you have some treasure to share,
Yeah.
that would get the attention, because everything that my partners give me, I buy, role play cameras and buy software and all kinds of stuff that we wouldn't have the program we have without the support of industry. And that's kind of why we're talking today, Bob, is that, sales education has moved so far, and yet we're still at the infancy of understanding inside sales.
Yeah.
I would say that we don't teach most any of it. We're building our inside sales lab right now at our university. So there's a couple of professors who do some voicemail things here. Call me in the middle of the night because I don't want to pick up the phone. But we're starting to see a trend, and I'm helping push, the ivory tower that way of sales jobs are going to be more plentiful, looking at inside, looking at, digital, remote, however you want to define it.
Exactly.
And as educators, we need to mix with your association members more, gather, bring the expertise, the things that you're doing, we can help you with from research perspective. But I think some of the great things that you guys are troubled and challenged with on a daily basis, we have to get the students ready to face that, because there's not just an epiphany that goes off when they sit in their seat, grab their phone, and say, "Oh, I'm comfortable." So I think it'd be a great, that's why you and I are talking. I think it's a great partnership. We've brought students before to the, your annual conference, and we'll do that again this year. A couple of kids won scholarships in the past, so I think it's the start of a growing relationship.
Well, we're going to see you and some of your students, I know, in a few weeks in Chicago at the summit. But on behalf of the association, I want to really recognize you and applaud you for doing some amazing things at NIU as you help prepare these kids, if you will, to when they graduate to get a great sales job. I may come knocking on your door looking for some good talent as well. But again, for the viewers out there, if they want to reach out to you, if they want to have a dialogue, maybe share some ideas, maybe support what you're doing, how can they contact you, Rob?
Well, simple way is just to Google NIU sales program, and you'll come with a link, or email me at peterson@niu.edu.
Great. We're going to share that, your email here with the viewers. And once again, I want to thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I'm sure you got some students to talk to here in a few minutes, or maybe a class to teach. But thanks so much for doing what you do to help us collectively take sales to the next level. Thanks, Rob.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.